welcome to the PODS Forum. My name is Todd Patterson. I'm the president of the PODS Association. And the good news is you're not going to hear very much from me today. I'm just going to kick us off for our event today. We've got a jam-packed agenda, a lot's going on. So, Monique, if we'll move the slides. So a couple of things before we start to jump into the event itself. First off, I want to thank all of our terrific sponsors for sponsoring this event. We've got some things in the back for you to take a look at when we break. First off, thank you to Global and Geodynamic. Geodynamic is our silver member. And then we have Petro IT and New Century as our gold members. You're going to hear more from Petro IT and New Century at the end of the session before we break for our social. But for a moment, I want to thank Brad from Geodynamic for sponsoring the audio visual. He's going to talk a little bit about Geodynamic, and I'll be back with you. Brad?
Thank you, Todd. I'm very happy to be able to sponsor. All right. To sponsor the meeting today. Geodynamic is a software and services company that focuses exclusively on the oil and gas pipeline business. Many of you are our clients. Very, very glad to work with you. I was just telling Todd before how important the PODS Association has been to us. We've been members since our founding, and those of us with no hair or gray hair were members much longer, all the way back to the beginning in some cases. So a lot of our business is building software for operators, and that it's made infinitely easier with data model standards. Certainly streamlines the implementation process and reduces costs and reduces risk for us. We have worked very hard to update our software platform to support PODS 7 and the new Esri location referencing core. And we have had some great experiences in our initial implementation with getting things up and running very, very quickly on those models. I think we're actually showing some things tomorrow during the Esri session as well. So if you attend that, you get to see some things in action. So thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of PODS. Especially appreciate the volunteers and the other members that move things forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for your sponsorship. I also want to thank everybody who was involved in planning this fantastic event. It's a great venue. It's taken a lot of time to be able to get everybody here together. So we're pleased to have this event. In particular, Monique Roberts, our executive director, members of the conference committee, secretary stand, and all the members from the conference committee. Jackie, you're the only one.
No, Natalie, Jackie, yay!
And Betty Cletus, who is back in Pennsylvania, who's managing GoToMeeting and all the slides, and Faith Brown, who's our marketing coordinator. So thank you all for making this happen. If you will, the next slide. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First and foremost, from a safety perspective, anybody on the stage, just watch out for that step. It is a doozy. In the event that we need to leave for any reason, I will first tell you bathrooms. You can leave to the right or the left of the room, down the hallways. There are restrooms. If we need to evacuate for any reason, there are no planned drills, but there are exits in the front or the back of the room that we will assemble in the northwest corner of the parking lot. It's going to go essentially to your left past the pool and in the northwest corner, and then we'll give you instruction from there. The other safety moment is we're all familiar with 811, right? Call before you dig. Really important consideration for our industry. We always talk about 811. What we tend to fail about with 811 is we do it for work, but we never think about it when we're at home. And so it's important to remember, if you're doing any kind of digging at home, it's just as important to call before you dig, as well as if you're calling around any pipeline construction. So just a reminder to share with your teams, make sure that you call before you dig. We espouse that, right? We want to make sure that we get the word out, and we ought to be the models and doing it ourselves. All right, so with that, we're going to jump into the agenda, and we're going to start first. We're going to have updates on some of the PODS committees and the work that's being done.
Todd, before you move on, can we ask the board to stand?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yep.
Actually, go to one slide. Come on up, Jackie, but one other slide. A couple of things that I also want to mention. Thank you for reminding me. First off, we have a new board member, Stephen Lassiter. So, Stephen, thank you for joining us. As well as all PODS board members. If you all please stand.
PODS board, please stand.
So thank you all for your service to PODS. We greatly appreciate it. There's a lot of work that gets done behind the scenes, and thank you for reminding me about that. And I I certainly don't want to be remiss in reminding everyone that we have a spring forum coming up in May. So save the date. It is May 2nd, 2023. We're going to be at the Grove in Houston. It is the 25th anniversary of PODS. So we've got lots of fun things that are planned for that event. See you there. A couple of other things. There are some additional information on our website. If you've been keeping track, you've noticed that we've got a new look, a new feel, and there's a lot of great things being done on the website. There's a new join page that's going to be coming, and lots of other information that we're going to be posted. So please keep tabs on the website itself. Anything else I forget?
Save the date. We're going to have the whole second floor of the Grove. It's going to be awesome. Oh, we're going to have awards and additional sponsorship. Yeah. But we need to give an award right now for the member who paid their dues the fastest.
Right, and so I should have said this when I introduced Brad, but it's really important to reflect that yesterday, Monique had all the invoices sent out for membership renewal, and Brad, where's Brad? You get the award for the fastest paying.
Hour and a half, and he had dues paid.
All right, so with that, enjoy Jackie.
Wait, Jackie, before you get started, everybody, we're gonna have a survey, so you can scan the QR. You can scan the QR. Yeah, I don't need that. Yeah, y'all know me. Scan the QR code so that you can fill out the survey and give us feedback. For those of you that are online, Deb's gonna drop the code into the chat box right now on the GoToWebinar. So please go ahead and scan that. Give us some feedback throughout the process. Make sure it's positive so that we can keep doing this, no pressure. And then also you're going to have some questions in there at the end for some general feedback. But give us some ideas about where you guys are, because we want to make sure that we are driving PODS in the direction that all of our members want us to go into. So we'll hold a little bit on that. If you want to get on the Wi-Fi, I think the Hyatt meeting is Hyatt Regency, all one word, lowercase. Hyatt West, sorry, all one word, lowercase. But don't everybody get on there, so take all the bandwidth, and I can't do the GoToWebinar. Thanks, Jackie.
I do have a new hairstyle.
I feel like we need a round of applause for Jackie.
Volunteered, and I'm also volunteered to be the training coordinator, or the chair, actually, the chair for the training committee this year. We've had a training committee in the past, and we've had a lot of content that we pushed out for the past few years, and we want to improve the common content and really make it what we need. I've always found that the technical training was lacking, and I want to improve that so that we can actually open up a model or some, open some software as you're doing something. So definitely going to do that for you guys. We've always had it in the budget to hire a training coordinator, and this year we have pushed out on her. Hi.
Where's Patricia? There she is. Yay!
We have 4 volunteers so far for that committee, and 2 or 3 of them have replied back to me. So what they do want to help, so even though help, let me know. We'll have like a monthly meeting or so, and just kind of, review your experience and your guidance. So I think that is it. That's it. Thank you. Next is
Dale. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Jackie.
All right. So if anything else, you'll remember me as the guy that's off. I'll set up over here.
Is that working? Say something.
All right. I am okay then. I'm taking worse hits.
I think it's okay. What number are you? Do you know?
9.
All right, you should be good.
All right. Sounds a lot. Okay, so we got a lot of people up here, a lot of names, a lot of different positions. Just an overview of how our work groups work and how our committees work. I'm the chair for the technical committee on governance. That doesn't mean that I go out and do a lot of work with PODS or that I do implementations or I'm the guru that comes up with the way PODS should look. What it really means is that I know a lot of people that know how to do that, and we decide what we're going to do. All right, so if you're looking for input on things that we could do with PODS, things we should be doing differently, how we put out modules, statuses, that's kind of what our group keeps track of. And we oversee a lot of the other committees and work groups. So you see a lot of them shown up here. So you've got the technical video on data modeling, or data modeling. That's going to be Kurt and Diana. And you'll see them up there. We have work groups for the ILI module, utility network, so forth and so on. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of where we are on some of these things. And then each one of these folks will get up here and talk to you about the details of what they're doing. All right. One thing that we don't see up here, because it's not a work group yet, is that we're reevaluating a light version of PODS. Okay, so don't get confused with what used to be called PODS Lite. It will be a smaller version of PODS with less tables, less functionality, but it will have the basics of what you need to basically show your pipelines in the GIS model. Okay. Comes with a simple basic membership. So think of it on another tier, like right now, we have large operators, we have small operators, but we don't have anything for those micro operators, basic operators. Those that don't really use PODS for everything that they do in the company, but they need a PODS data model to store their data. So TCG has discussed it, and we're considering use cases for that. So what we need from you is input on what would you use a light version of PODS for? Right? What would you think would need to be included in the basic PODS layout? All right. Secondly, you'll see the ILI work group shown up here. We have 9 active PODS members who have asked for copies of the ILI module, and we're expecting comments from them. We've also are getting ready to announce when we're going to release it live. Should be coming soon. We'll hear a little bit more about that from the other church members. Also, utility network. We've got advanced releases out there on SharePoint. Release parties today. So we're going to unveil utility network. Right? We're going to hear about how it was put into place, what it does, how it interacts with PODS, how it uses PODS as kind of its data repository, where it gets its information from, and how all that will work. We do have 3 active PODS members who have asked for a copy of it, and we're expecting that they're reviewing and will give us some comments. And then we have internally, sometimes internally, after we look at a release of a module or something, we'll review it ourselves. And so we do have some questions from our TCDM group and also to just some of the members that are in the TCG. And I think there are some things, dialogue going back and forth, right? Anytime you build something as big as this, you're going to have to tie up some loose ends near the end. So that's kind of where we're at on that. And also, I think we have some basic documentation. It's out on the website, right? So we have some basic documentation of what it is. It's not going to be in depth and tell you exactly how to install utility network with data. What it does is give you some concepts. How does this work? Think of it that way. More detailed documentation will be coming later, And of course, you'll get to hear that. Jeff Allen with Esby's here. They'll talk about it. I know some One Oak folks are here. They were part of the, we'll call it the pilot implementation of utility network. So they went through all those growing pains. Okay, and really we have a few people within the audience that were instrumental in getting it done. All right, and our own Luke Guttmacher is reviewing some of the documentation, and Jeff will probably be doing some updates to that. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So new things that you may not have heard of yet. First is the integrity management module that we're putting together. Merce and Nigel, newly with Integratech. She did work with G2 if you knew her from there. And she is heading a work group to build an integrity management project. She'll have some time to talk about what we're doing with it. Yeah. But it looks pretty impressive on the surface, and I think it's going to be really good. You know, and in my mind, what I think of is if something happens on my pipeline, where is all the information I need to tell myself, did I do everything I should have done to make sure it didn't happen? So if you have a rupture or leak on your pipeline, did we have an outline that indicated a problem? Do we have all these other things that may have happened? Do we have a line strike? Those are things that you might actually be able to pull from PODS, but it's not visible on the surface, right? You learn about it. It's actually reality shows, right? We had the data was in that area, right? But we didn't get that spot. We were just right there. We should have known there was something there. So those are the kinds of things I think she'll be able to answer whenever she talks. We're estimating that early next year, and she'll have the specifics, but we think we'll have a module together. Construction module. So the construction module is something that's been talked about for years, and it was even started, I don't know when it was started. I want to say a decade ago. 12 years ago. So 12 years ago, the project started to include construction data in PODS, or be able to use construction data to end up with the end product, what would be in the PODS table. And then it kind of fell by the wayside. And so what we're doing is reviving that. We're trying to get it rebooted, restarted. And Rick Roberts is here, and he'll talk about it, tell us where they're at. They're replanning, maybe is a good word, trying to plan this out again. And they either pick up where they left off, or landscape has changed, maybe start over in some cases. All right. We've also had some meetings with Valera and have talked about tanks, facilities, sites, could be compressor stations, other things like that, that were typically in older versions of PODS were there, places for that data, and now maybe those places don't exist or they're not quite as robust as what they should be. That's another work group that could spin up in the near future. We're also looking at gas gathering. My company, as well as Chevron, Paul Herman, we use PODS extensively for gathering water, right? And we may even be doing it differently, but what we expect to do here is not just release something new with PODS, but let's look at PODS and see if it does everything that we need it to do for gathering, right? Does it cover the basis of how we'll manage it? I mean, how do you manage 35,000 miles of gathering line at a database and do everything that you would have to do to get it in PODS, right? Are you capturing all the information you need for this different than transmission, right? Its use is different, the way it's built is different. The line work may even be a little different, how they're put in the ground. So we'll have to review that and go through the marketing once we figure out what it has to be built, right? So there may be changes coming to PODS just to support gas gathering. Other things that we're looking at, and that is water. being able to use pods to manage water lines or water systems, whether it be transmission or smaller distribution lines. I think all of them have to be looked at. And the regulations are different. Right? PODS was built to handle things like sensor reporting, NPM maps, things like that, right? Things that we're used to seeing, but we're not used to having to give regulatory reports to water administration. Right, so we are working with Xylem and the city of Pueblo to try to figure out what needs to be added to pods or what needs to be changed in pods to be able to be versatile, handle those new things that would come with water. Another one is hydrogen. These are all conceptual. Anywhere we really just did meeting with people. And so if you have an idea, remember, all you have to do is come to us and say, I have an idea, I think pods should do this. Right? And that's what's happened here is that companies have come to us and said, could pods do this? Right? And we started talking about it. The second one is hydrogen. And I think we've already met. We already met with their products.
No. Hi, Roland.
We plan to meet with their products. About how they use positive hydrogen, right? And it may be nothing more than a review, but it also can turn into something where we would want to put out a better product to be able to handle what they want to do, right? There may be things they can't do in positive, doing through other databases or other softwares that doesn't make sense to separate it out. Okay, and then also carbon sequestration. Good at that one, so I don't even know what it is. What it matters is that you're meeting with Summit Carbon Solution. It's a new member. And I don't know if it was stressed earlier, but we have a lot of, we're not as small as what we used to be. So I had a slide that I was going to put in called PODS Grow, but you just need to know PODS Grow. I mean, all the things that I just told you, if you would have asked us a year or two ago, we said we're working on or thinking about doing that, right? But we've already gotten those ready to go, and now we have at least 5 or 6 other priorities to try to move in the future, right? And do the things that PODS should do. So anyway, a lot of work coming up. So we're looking for help. These work groups will be advertised out on the PODS website. If you hear through other people at work, don't be afraid to volunteer for those work groups. You may be the person that has to all the questions that everyone else has, right? So if you're interested in integrity, if you're interested in Iowa, if you're interested in things like water. Right? I mean, I don't know about y'all, but we actually do have some problems. I don't know if it's going to need all of the new products, but we do have it. And so nothing's off the table if you have all those things. All right? That's how we know what to do. All right? We don't know what to work on. Some of us in PODS do work for providers or for operators, so we are familiar with some things. All right, so let's kind of wrap up all the groups that we have and the things that we're working on at PODS. Now I'm going to turn it over to Diana. Oh, I'm going to turn over to the other person.
Thank you, Daniel. Y'all, Dale needs a lot of help. So you saw the stuff they're working on. Let him know if you want to help.
Okay, so first, I'm the chair of the data modeling committee and procurement. I first wanted to recognize the current members. There's myself, Diana, she'll speak next. Victor Rutherford, Teresa Young, Rod Burton, and last but not least, Scott Engel. So the next release coming out is POD 702. It's going to be the ILI module. I'm going to hand this over to Diana and let her talk.
Thanks, Kirk. So yes, we had a release party back in August. I believe that recording is still available if there's more information that people want to go and look at. Information about the tables, kind of why we picked what we did. We kind of wanted to take like a holistic approach of seeing how many attributes we want. Had come up with about 125. And I know everybody wants to enter all 125 attributes every time, all the time. So, but we did not go with that. We went with the lesser version, had a modified product, kind of a happy medium between meeting needs of large operators and smaller operators, with the ability to scale and then extend it as needed for your business needs. So it'd be interesting to, we kind of have identified those MVP items. So this PODS light that's coming out, you can do that. Yeah, we're just looking for feedback. As Dale said, there's 9 companies that do have the early release, and we're waiting feedback. And I guess all I need to say is November 1st.
What?
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, so that's the scheduled date for anticipating. Like I said, we have not received any feedback, so again, that could potentially change based on feedback. The next thing is utility network. We are currently starting the review process. Jeff Allen's here. He will be explaining that in more detail today and tomorrow. But we've started that review process. And then finally, the integrity regulatory. Victor Rutherford from Plains Michigan, Canada is going to be the liaison for that group. And Marissa is here to provide more information on that.
So the integrity regulatory.
Oh, wait. So y'all have November 1st available for download on PODS module. No, no. You already dropped the mic. Okay. Go ahead, Marissa.
The integrity regulatory committee has been meeting twice a week. Show you the video and walk through what we've identified.
Okay, hold on. I gotta show them.
So when we started looking at the module, we were trying to figure out the project.
You can't see it?
And we started talking about the annual reports and the CFR regulations for both gas and liquid. So what we've been doing is going through each part of the annual report and saying, can POD 7 support this? Can we extract the data out of here to get what we need? And if we can't, what do we need to add to POD 7? So the video that you may or may not see.
You can see later.
You can see later. We basically started at the top with the regulatory activities, which is your ACAPs into your risk. You run risk, you analyze your segments, and that those particular segments are analyzed further to identify what are your assessment segments. And at that time, you want to assess in the different methods, ILI, indirect, or direct, or pressure test. That's not the video.
We'll send it to everybody later.
And so after you assess, then what happens? You further assess the results, and then you take your results and you pick out which are your anomalies that you're going to dig on. You identify your digs, you go out in the field, and that generates more data, which could be a repair. It could be better GPS information to reanalyze the rest of the digs you want to do. It could be leak pressure test results for the reporting. So all of that we're looking at to add in, identifying it. Is it a process? Is it a feature class? Are we missing relationships? And we're going through that step by step. And when we move forward, we'll take a look. We've also identified in the process that we need a CT module. So that's on the diagram. So it's basically a process of working through what are our annual activities for regulatory in a life cycle, in a year life cycle, and can we get that data out of PODS And is it easy to get out of PODS? And if it's not easy to get out of PODS, what kind of tools do we need to help us extract this data so we can easily comply and be in compliance? Do we welcome integrity engineers to be on the committee? We have a great volunteer group and we're always. Yeah.
All right, Rick. There we go. All right. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I don't have any slides either. Get through this. Let me set this up a little bit on the construction of houses. So, first of all, that we're going to be talking about the international contractors. And we're going to speak about that a little bit. 250 member organizations. Big group of those. So with the history project, I mean, with the construction, it goes back to 2012. And it was spawned as from a bid pack. So we had MP in the South Coast, about 500 or so miles of big pipeline. They went out to bid to these EPCs. When they got it, to bring the data back in the PODS. So they're like, you know, what the heck is this? We don't know how to do it. So that's our issue. Very much EPC went up over it. And we talked to them about their vision was to work with the PODS and then to come up with a standard that they could significantly that into our operator and get it, you know, so satisfy their needs. So that's kind of when the work started with the side and all of this stuff. So that's it's I guess it's good here for. So some of you guys looking around, some of you probably work with the individual. It was quite a bit of work. I was actually on the operator at that time. So there was a lot of work, but at the end of the day, the data that we're talking about here was in its cycle. It wouldn't work with later for the most part. So kind of took a backseat to the next gen. So kind of building here. So next gen, we started that effort on 7. You know, we got that. I presented a couple of times of pre-COVID, we're at about 7 just to kind of keep the ball rolling. And here we are, we're at the COVID now. So we're trying to initialize it again. A little bit of thoughts about the market. So what I'm thinking is, if you can picture the ERD of the PODS 7, there's a group, there should be a module in there, something needed in construction. So tables that are dealing with construction. It's temporary and permanent. So there's data moving into these tables. From these tables, you can migrate, push data, pull data, whatever you want to do to your model. And we say this, I mean, a lot of the data during construction does not go in your PODS model. So it's like, for instance, I goes into your model. There's all kinds of things, say in this case, this was 500 miles. They would like to go to the mill placement for 500 miles. Height. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. You know, you've got production trends, you know, where you at versus in. You got high going coding bills. You got high being shipped while pipe is being paid. So the operator needs to notice the payment. You got, hey, so right now, you know, unless you have a system of your own, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to get an invoice and pay it. So other things, streaming, ditching, trenching, backfilling, Reconstruction. Just, does not go in the project. It's managed through the whole construction. And it would be like, if we have a place that can actually work with that data, see what's going on, then provide that service, to the operator. And at the same time, all your stuff. Provided that your PVC material, your code, your all that stuff is very important. Market, and it's like that migrated into your model at the end of the day. So here's the deal, like Stephens really grow this time. We're there where we manage stuff that's 300 miles, to the problem national highway. So we can deal with that kind of a thing, which is what we run like that. When we district with what you have a thing you want to say.
You know what I'm talking. You want to cover anything? Go ahead. Deb, check me if you can hear me. All right, we're having a little bit of audio issues for the online people, so everybody just needs to come. So, thank you, Rick, thank you, Marissa, thank you, everybody who's been working so hard. I need to give you, is that better? Okay. Thank you, everybody who's working tirelessly on all of these modules and all of the different education standards and, everything that everybody's done is just absolutely incredible. I can't believe I get to have this job. Seriously. I get to work with all these awesome people. So yeah, we go to Boca, Todd and I met with them. We made 47 contacts. They have 250 members, and they're all very excited about getting involved with PODS. So, since we went to Boca only 2 weeks ago, and 3 new countries that have signed on as members of PODS. So, it's just absolutely incredible. We're now up to 22 active countries, over 200 operators that have downloaded the PODS model. We have 36 countries that have been involved at some point or another, so we're going to get all those guys as well as this, right? And then now that we're looking to grow into the gas gathering, we're working on that, and, Jackie and Patricia have all these awesome education modules so that, new people can get involved, so we have a lot of stuff. So we are growing significantly and we do need more help and things are moving a lot faster. So there is a volunteer form, which you can go online, PODS.org, and sign up to be a volunteer. We had 23 people sign up to be a volunteer for the rest of this committee. That's a lot of GIS people and not enough integrity managers, like she said. So if we can get more integrity managers on that one, that would be great. So with that, we're actually running ahead of schedule. Now that we know that November the 1st, I didn't even put that in the slide. Boy, Kurt, he's slick. November the 1st, we're going to have the net available. He's going to just been talking to us about that. Then also tomorrow at the same location, if you're not already signed up, Edgewood is having a day-long pipeline seminar. So he's going to be going through in much more detail what we asked him to pack in 45 minutes today. He's spending an entire day on tomorrow, so please make sure you come to that. It is a free event and you are something else. And then we have an advanced release coming in April, and the board is looking at a roadmap for construction, water, hydrogen, everything that Gail was talking about. So in your survey that you have in that form, it says in there to give us feedback on which of the things you'd like to see, first, second, third, next, what's important to you, if there's something on there that you think that we're really not looking at. Definitely bring it up, but know that if you make any suggestions, you will be asked to come on our committee. Some more work as well. I think, unless there was anything else that we didn't cover, that anybody wanted to talk about in the committees and the working groups or anything, we are ahead of schedule, so we'll go ahead and take our break now. We have some refreshments in the back, and then bring some snacks out. So what is 2:42, so let's be back here at 3 o'clock, everybody, so that we can get into Jeff's presentation and then the panel. Thanks so much. Go check out our sponsors.